Hello everyone, good morning.
Good morning,
Am I audible?
sir.
Yes, sir.
I hope you can see
Yes,
the screen also.
Yes, sir. Screen is visible.
Fine
yes,
then.
sir.
We were discussing regarding the form tag and then inside the form tag, the input tag. How do we use it? And a couple of examples also we had seen. Um, now these are the important types. As we can see, the most important tag inside the form tag is the input tag. And then type is the attribute of the input tag. Take an example over here. As you can see, we include a form tag inside the body tag, then label to display a text, and then use the input tag. Input tag doesn't have a closing tag, so obviously it's a both closing and opening are in the same opening tag only. Then the attribute type, most important attribute type. So it specifies what kind of input you want to add inside this particular form. So here, what we are doing, we are specifying a text, and then that is named. You can give it as any name, and then value you can set it or leave it blank. If you set it by default, that value will come. If you leave, then that value will be left as blank. And then by default, the maximum length of the text box is 20. Here, in this case, if you want to increase it, you can increase it. So in case if you want to give a password, then you can use the value password for the type attribute in the input tag instead of text. Then you can give any name and then value if you want, you can give, otherwise you can leave it. Then max length. As and when users enter, the value gets changed. Then we have got a reset button and then we have got a submit button. Then there's a attribute called as value. Now it specifies the if I say enter the details, then the submit button will specify the text to be displayed over. Suppose if we wrap this, then we'll be having two labels, two text boxes, and then you have got one is normal text, you can enter anything you want. Second one will be related to passwords. Then we have entered a reset button. So if you click on that one, all the things will be reset. Suppose if you enter some value over here, and then if you say enter the details, now what will happen is all the details of the form will be collected. Now how the application works, check the values here. Suppose for example, you have a PHP program or a JavaScript program or any of the programs on the server side which collect the information. Pay attention to this carefully. What happens here? There is a attribute called as attribute. Action is equal to, then here the program is supposed to specify name of the program. So there is one server side program which accepts all the inputs from the user and processes. Now here, for our example, what should the server side program do? It should check out whether there is a username, whether there is a password is right, and then if the password is right, then it should allow the user to log in. Otherwise, it should display the text. The information is wrong. So that particular task is given in a particular program. It can be a JSP program, or it can be a PHP program, or any other program which is there on the server side, or it can be on the single system also. So here, what happens is this particular program, check.php or check.jsp. Now, what this check.jsp program does, it checks whether the user is authenticated or not, whether the username is right or not, the password is right or not. So in that particular case, what happens is the moment user clicks on the submit button, which is having the word enter the details. Now, the moment it is clicked, all the information in this text box, and then this text box is collected and sent to the program which is specified in the action attribute of the form tag. I hope you are getting this. I'll repeat this once again. Whatever the values which are entered by the user, those values are collected and sent to this particular program for verification, whether it is right or not. So where is this program? If it is in the local server, then you can just specify the program name. If it is in the different folder, suppose if it is in D drive and server, then you can specify this particular address. Suppose if it is on some other server on the web, then you can say www dot say you can suppose if you are sending your Google login, google.com/check.jsp. What that does is all the information which is entered by the user is sent to this particular program wherever it resides. But in the same system, with the same folder, don't give any path. Within the same system, give the system path. If it is in other system, give the URL along with. Then there is a target value. You can say there are different values for this. For example, blank. Suppose if I say blank, then what happens is the response from the server is displayed just like what we have for the HTML files. HTML files are either open in the same window or in different window. Similarly, if we say same thing applies here, whatever response that comes from the server, that is shown in the same window or different window. If you don't enter anything, by default, it will show in the same window. Otherwise, it will show in the different. So this is how the form form tag is used along with the action. Once again, I'll repeat this. To accept the values from the user in graphical user interface way, we use the forms. All the user interfaces are to be inside the form tag. So label is given in using the label tag. Any input you want to give, any user interface which accepts the value from the user, that use the input tag. The type attribute is the most important attribute. If we give text, text box will come. If we give password, password will come. Any other thing will also come over here, like radio button and checkbox. That also we'll see in the next example. Then a couple of values are there for the type attribute, reset and submit. If user clicks on the reset button, then what happens? It will reset the text. It will not send it to the server. In case if user clicks on the submit button, then what happens? All the information which is entered here in the text box and password is collected and sent it to the server side program for processing. Whatever that request, the processing answer for the request that comes in the same page or different page. So run this once again. Now I have changed the value of this one. Now here you can see submit has understood this. Any doubts here?
No, sir.
Yes. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, just like the text box and the password, we can have radio buttons and the check boxes also. First, let me include a radio button. Let me remove the check box. Let it be. Now here, see, form tag is there. Now we have included two types of tags over there. Else input tag is here. So three input types we have given, and then again here we have given. No need to have two separate. The first one is the radio button. As you can see here, input type is equal to radio. Then there is an attribute called as ID. And specify the ID, then name, and then value. Then you have got type is equal to radio in female, and then name, gender, and value. Again, third one is type is equal to read others, and then the value is given over. So now, similarly here we have given type is equal to checkbox. Checkbox will be added, its ID, and then its name to be displayed. Again, checkbox, second checkbox, and then the third checkbox with respective IDs for this, and then the rest. The values we have given male, female, and other, then bike, car, and boat. So run this. I can see here 3 radio buttons are given, and then 3 check boxes are given. Let's refine this a bit. Let us give some space over. So first radio button, the label. Second radio button, its label. Third radio button, its label. Then a couple of breaks we can give here. Refresh this. Let us give one more break for segregation purpose. See, we can give the radio buttons and then also the check boxes. You can see I have a bike, I have a car, I have a boat, male, female, and other. So where we have given, see, label we have given I have a bike. So label is for naming of the boxes, check boxes. Now one more thing to understand here is radio buttons are mutually exclusive. So if you select one, the other should automatically get deselected. That is the most important characteristic as far as radio button is concerned. They may ask you a question, differentiate between the important characteristics of a radio button and a checkbox. So one of the important characteristics or differentiation is that if you select one radio button, you cannot select the other. They're mutually exclusive. In fact, they are meant to be like that. You need not, you should not allow 2 radio buttons to be selected simultaneously. If you want that option, you can use a checkbox for that particular. You can see here, you can select only one checkbox or multiple checkboxes, but here you can select only one radio button. How you can do that one? You can do that one using a group, that is name. Now, for example, here name is same for all the 3 radio buttons. This is the first radio button, this is the second radio button, and then 3 radio buttons are there. For all those things, the name attribute value is same, that is gender. If you give the name attribute values different, then they will not be mutually exclusive. You can select all the 3 together. Refresh this, okay. Now we can see here. See, multiple radio buttons can be selected, but that is not what radio buttons are meant for. They should be mutually exclusive. So make them mutually exclusive. All should belong to one particular name group only. So how do you do that one? Make sure that the name attribute has got the same value for all the 3. Then you'll get the. Then every button has got its own value specified over here, and then the value to be displayed is displayed using the label. Similarly, for the checkbox, ID value will be there, name will be there, and then the attributes are here only. Here only we can add a label and text, submit and reset button. So how do we do that one? First have a input tag. Close this properly here and add. Now, what is the attribute that we are supposed to use? That is type is equal to. Now we are supposed to specify reset here. Then copy the same thing. We'll use it for the submit button. Have a line break here. So let me. This should be case sensitive. Type value should be case sensitive. Whereas the value, you can have any name for this. Submit. You can give any text, not necessarily submit. Specify any text. Refresh this. You can see reset. In all things will be reset, because if I click on submit, what will happen is the values of those. Which one we had selected? Male we had selected, and then I have a bike we had selected. So what this does is, which one? Yeah, we had selected the first one. What is the value of this? MALE, M small. And then I have a bike. What is its value? Bike. So the values male and bike will be selected, and then they will be sent to the file which is specified in the action attribute of the form. Specified in the action attribute of the form. I hope you understood this. Any doubts here?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Fine then. The next one is frames. The next tag is frames, or element also we can call them. It's frames. One thing to understand is, as far as possible, we are covering this only from the syllabus point of view, but generally frames are not used. They are discouraged, and in some web browsers they are discarded also. They are generally not used. I'll tell you why they are not used, but first let us find out what is a frame. Okay? The frame and frame set. Of three tags we are supposed to remember here. One is the frame set, second one is frame, and then no frames. No frames is not relevant from syllabus point of view, but we'll learn that one. Now, what we can do is we can add multiple HTML files in a single frame or in a single screen. You can see here, include a frame set, just like we include a form tag, include a frame set which contains multiple rows. What does it contain? Multiple HTML files. Now, frame tag, name attribute, and then anything you can give, and then source. Here you can give one HTML file name. Here I have given a file radio.html, which we just now saw over here. Second frame we have added. First attribute is name. Second attribute src. s1.html. We had seen this in initial chapters. One s1.html program we had. Then third frame tag, name attribute, and then its value is bottom, and then src, specify one HTML file, sample.html. Show you this. You can see here s1 is here, radio is here, and then sample is here. All three are in the single folder, and then we are using a particular, there we are using those three files in the frames program. So this is our program. Our program is frames.html. So HTML extension we have given over there, and then we add this. So the screen will be divided into three parts. So that is, we are showing in the rows attribute of the frame set. All the frames are to be included inside the frame set. Rows, then specify the percentage of screen occupancy. We utilize 100%. This is 40%. These two are 60% together. So 40 and before running this, a couple of things to make it clear. Frames are not entertained, not encouraged for many reasons, and some of the browsers do not support this also. From syllabus point of view, we are learning these frames were introduced in the initial part of HTML. Now we are using HTML5 and above. When HTML1 was introduced, at that time the frames were used, but afterwards, because of many reasons, the frames were discarded. Generally, people don't use it. A couple of points are there. Run this simultaneously until why they are discarded, they are not used. You can see here. three different programs. This is the radio program, which we had just seen now. Now, this is one data science example we had seen in the beginning of the this particular chapter. You can see this is one particular thing. And second one, the third program, the style attribute, that is sample.html. This program also we have seen. You can see here, we have introduced three programs in one particular frame. So for that purpose, we use this. Uh, they are discarded, as I was saying, or they're discouraged. One reason is little bit confusing for the new users because all the users are not computer science, uh, are not having computer science background. Second aspect is that if we have multiple HTML files in a single frame, that will be very difficult to view and operate in a small device like a mobile phone. So in such cases, it will create a lot of problems. Most of the browsers have stopped supporting the frames now. Now we are getting a support here, fine, but sometimes you will not get the support. And then you can see here, radio dot, it's in the single program. Now here it is a part of the frame. This is the first program. This is the second program, and then the third program. And what we had shown, the occupancy of the first program is 60%. Then second program is we have got 40. First one is 40%, 30%. Second one, first one is 40%. Second one is 30%, and then third one is 30%. If you want, you can change the combination also. First one make it 50%. Second one make it 25%. Third one also make it 25%. Refresh this, you can see 50% is occupied by the first program and remaining 50% is occupied next two. So only for the examination purpose, do not use this. This will cause confusion in the back button also. So that is why back button will not be there for the frames. Whenever you use frames, back button will not be. So disadvantages, small screen, it cannot be viewed. It creates a lots of confusion, and then uh, the dividing part, screen resolution part may be different for different browsers. I'm viewing in Firefox, you may be viewing in Chrome or some other browser. So their resolution changes. So again, if I specify the percentages, then it may not work out everywhere. So all these reasons, the frames are generally not, say, advised to be used. So understood this? Any doubts here?
No, sir. Understood.
Everybody? Sonia? Uh, let us come to the this one. So here we have we're in the second unit, as you can see. Then text markup, images, we have seen hypertext, we have seen link, that is anchor tag, we have seen lists, we have seen tables, we have seen forms, we have seen, and then the frames also. Now these two units, these two topics, I'll cover it after introduction of CS. So you can understand the HTML and XHTML better way. Then we'll come back to this. This the difference between HTML and XHTML. Not much difference is there, but we'll see the differences once we cover this. So from next class onwards, what we'll do is we'll start with the style sheets and then specification format, selector forms, and then font properties. It's very simple, very easy to understand. Some part of this we already have seen also before. So we'll start up with this in the next. Enter your attendance. Anybody is having any doubt from the topics which we have covered?
No doubt, sir.
No, sir, no doubt.
Okay, fine then. So from the next class, we'll start up with the CSS part of the HTML. See you in the next class.